Vroom, vroom.
Hello, Moneybags.
Hello, Moneybag.
Yes, vroom, vroom indeed. Today we're talking about how much money should you have before buying a car. This is an interesting question because my daughter recently bought a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have, what advice or coaching did you tell her in terms of how much she should have before she...
Well, we made one fatal flaw in what we told her. So we had her... we basically said that we would match whatever amount of money she put together for the car.
Okay.
Right? So she cobbled together $2,000. We gave her $2,000. She bought a $4,000 car. Mm-hmm. But within about 3 months, that car needed $1,200 worth of repair work. So this leads to the question, how much money should you have before buying a car? Mm. And we've got a few answers because it depends. Are you buying new or are you buying used? And if you're buying used, do you have money set aside for repair work, which inevitably is going to happen on your vehicle? And if you're buying new, have you thought about things like, what is license and registration? What does the insurance cost on this brand new vehicle? Will it change how much gas you're using on this vehicle?
Does it require gas?
Does it require gas? Right, good question. So all of these things and more are what we're going to talk about on the show today. But the question that we get is, how much money should I have before buying a car? So let's dive right in.
Yeah. So it's a really good question. And, the blanket answer is that it really does depend. But in this episode, we hope to really offer some pointed questions to ask yourself that will help you really come to the conclusion yourself. So one, from a financial perspective, obviously, the more you have debt, the more you put down on a car, the less debt that you would be taking on for a car loan, and the interest rate would be reduced, right? Because you're not taking up as much debt. So it really depends on, one, how much the car costs if you are buying new or used, and then really how much you are able to put down to afford the car.
Yep, indeed. So one of the things to keep in mind, as Nick pointed out, when you're putting money down on a car, what's happening is if you buy a $25,000 vehicle and you put $5,000 down on the vehicle, then you owe $20,000 on that car, probably spread out over 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 years, though I would keep it to 5 or less. So you're spreading that $20,000 out over those 5 years, let's say. What will happen is the dealership will say, if in fact you got in a car accident, and let's say it's year 1 of owning this vehicle, but the vehicle's now only worth $18,000 because cars depreciate the minute you drive them off the lot. If you were to happen to get into an accident and the vehicle were totaled, the insurance that would kick in may not cover the entire value of the car up to what the loan amount is, right? So if the car is worth $18,000 and you owe $20,000 on the vehicle, that insurance may not cover all of your loan. So the dealership would then try and sell you what's called gap insurance. And gap insurance is something that you're going to pay extra for. And essentially it says, if you get in an accident at a point in time where there's more money left on your loan than what your car is worth, it covers the difference. So by putting more down, you might be able to save some money in paying for gap insurance. That's one thought on that.
Very cool.
Yes. So some of the things that we encourage you to do is research the car purchase. And you're researching it based on things like what kind of mileage per gallon you're getting on your new car, soon to be new car versus your old car. You're going to search out things like what is the insurance cost? And as I mentioned before, things like license and registration costs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Comments on that?
Comments on that? Well, originally being in LA, but then moving to Des Moines, I needed to, look into licensing, registration, and all of that. And this is kind of just a personal story, but one of the things I wanted to do was get a personalized license plate. And originally I thought that it was going to be maybe $150 to $250. I found out it was only $25 to do that. So for me, it was definitely worth it, but it wasn't until I actually did the research to find out how much this was going to cost that I was able to make some smart decisions and choices. For me, it was a very smart decision. I have joy every time I look at my car license plate. So yeah, looking online, there's not really a rule of thumb. So Adam and I have created a rule of thumb in terms of how much you should save or have saved before purchasing a car.
Yes, and that number is, drum roll, the rule of thumb is 2 to 3 months of a car payment ideally is what you should have in savings. And here's why I say that. for my daughter, had she had 2 to 3 months of what an estimated car payment would be on her car, she would have been able to afford the repairs. In the end, her mom and I covered it. She's paying us back and is almost done. Where's some wood? Knock on wood. She's almost done paying that off. But 2 to 3 months of payments is enough set aside that you know you can weather the storm and you can be able to afford the things like insurance and registering your car. Quick sidebar story on this. A friend of mine, his wife is interested in buying a very nice luxury SUV. And I said, have you done any of the research on this in terms of insurance costs, what it will cost to tag to get plates on it and tag the plates every year? And he hadn't done it, but when he did go back and do the research, it was substantially more, like thousands of dollars more than what he thought it was going to be.
Whoa.
In terms of insurance and all of that,
Wow.
on top of a really hefty monthly payment.
Yeah.
And to boot, there was not enough in savings to cover that for 3 months. So we're giving them that same piece of advice. So make sure that when you're buying a car and you're doing that research, you know what you're up against. You have that money set aside. The last thing you want to do is have that new car purchase turn into something negative on your credit report because you can't afford to make the payment down the road.
Yeah.
Cool. How about the budget? That might be a good call to action.
So a couple ways to, get ahead. I mean, ultimately, what I'm really getting from this conversation is that what's most important is really planning ahead. And we have a tool called the Zero-Based Budget that you can download at masteryofmoney.com. And it lays out very crystal clear, how much money you would need to save, how it corresponds and fits with your income and your budget and the other expenses that you have. And it'll really allow you to, if you are looking to purchase a car, be able to save using a sinking fund approach that will guide you and empower you to stay motivated and excited to purchase your first car or new car.
Absolutely. So check out the Zero-Based Budget, click the link below, and if you would, leave us a comment on the YouTube channel or send us an email, questions@masteryofmoney.com. We will get yours answered more than likely on air or in an email back to you. Thanks for watching.